The APP World Tour welcomes you to the French capital. Our last stop of the season, second day of competition here, and the very final day of competition in terms of racing on the tour this year. We're in the French capital. It's a little bit of weather blowing outside. We're nice and cozy in here. Paul Evans in for the call alongside Dave Bainey. How you feeling today, mate?
Oh man, I'm a little tired. A little celebrations happening after day one, but everybody's up early. It's dawn patrol here. The weather is cold, rain, wind, and there's 1,000 paddlers about to get on the water.
We had an epic day yesterday in the pool behind us. That was the scene for some pretty big drama yesterday. Obviously had some world title go down on our women's side. Seine nailing that title today. There's that conversation coming into play for the men in a completely different playing field. We're out on the river.
Absolutely, yeah. Seine wrapped it up day one. She's the world champion. Congratulations to her. And Casper Steinfath has an opportunity to seal a deal for his world championship.
And we like to crunch numbers and talk about situations, but essentially it's pretty easy to follow. It's basically a head-to-head between him and Arthur. Whoever finishes in front out of those two claims the 2019 APP World title.
Cut and dry. There's not a lot of math to do it. Whoever beats the other guy wraps it up. So it's going to be interesting. You know, there's Casper got the win yesterday. Arthur's would probably be better in the distance. Obviously, there's big hitters like Michael Booth. Connor's looking fresh. So, there's still a lot of work to be done, and this is going to be a big test. It's cold. It's going to be hard. There's no sugarcoating it. The forecast is the paddle's going to be terrible.
So it's going to be a tough day today. Of course, both those, just looking at those two athletes, Casper from Denmark and Arthur from France, so they're used to a bit of cold weather, but otherwise been out on the river, out in all the elements. It's going to come down to strength, endurance, obviously technique as well, and just that mental strength to bring it home.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you have experience paddling in weather, you probably have a slight edge. A lot of the athletes are trying to figure out exactly what to wear. You don't want to get overheated, but you don't want to get too cold. And you definitely don't want to fall in the water. The water is freezing.
So we had a little conversation about boards yesterday. It was pretty significant with the buoy turns in the pool here. Completely different sort of thing today. And in terms of equipment, the standard 14-foot boards, that would be the equipment of choice.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody, you're starting to realize that 12.6 is becoming an important thing to have in your bag of tricks for the sprint races. But on these distance races, guaranteed all the guys and girls are going to be on 14-foot boards. And you can see everybody lining up and trying to stay warm. There's Itzel Delgado right there going through his pre-routine, and it's dark. I mean, there's 1,000 people getting set up to race here in Paris in the pitch dark. It's just amazing to get all these people out here.
Pre-dawn scenes on the iconic River Seine, a 777-kilometer long river. It's about 500 miles that flows from the area known as Dijon, where it rises in the center of France, goes out into the channel at Le Havre. We're approaching the shortest day of the year here. The winter equinox will come up on the 21st of December, so we're, around about a week away from that, so not a lot of daylight in play, and that means our athletes got to get down there and get ready in the dark, basically freezing cold and dark. Not necessarily ideal paddle conditions.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky thing to navigate. What time do you got to wake up? You got to get your nutrition going, and then it's just the logistics to get down there. There's so many people. All the athletes' boards arrived on buses, so you got to figure out where your board is. In the midst of all these people, and it's just a whole different atmosphere here. And this is the only race I could think of that starts in the dark.
All right, so everyone just getting ready down there. And we have our endurance race on the River Seine here. It's the Paris Sup Open, part of the APP World Tour, our final day of the season in terms of racing. And we will be deciding the men's world champion for this year. As we mentioned, it's basically going to be a horse race between Casper and Arthur. So France versus Denmark for that one. USA yesterday with Seine Webster nailing that. But it's all going to come down to the river, and it's all going to come down essentially who can finish first out of those two. And then there are a bunch of other stories as well, and rankings up for grabs, and there's a lot left to be decided today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's even someone like Fiona Wild. I'm sure wants to bounce back in this distance and have a good result. She was a little quiet yesterday. I believe she bowed out in the quarterfinals. So look for her to come back and try to get this distance win. We got Lina Agaitis, another very good distance paddler that happens to be here for the last event of the year. Shay Fowdy's back in action. She's feeling good. So the women's is going to be quite interesting as well. And the men's just, you got to look for the Michael Booth and the standard guys that always do good down here.
And in terms of, we think of like multi events were going over a period of days. A lot going down in the pool yesterday, and we talk about that explosive in the muscles and the lactic acid and that fatigue, and then especially for athletes that made it deep into the competition yesterday, they've got to get down there this morning at the crack of dawn and go again. That's going to take its toll on the muscles.
Yeah, for sure. I guess. All right.
Let's go down here from Candice. She's standing by on the river. Take it away, Candice.
Few moments away from the start of the pro distance race of the Paris Sup Open Nautic Paddle. We're here on the Seine. It's cold, it's early, the sun has not even come out yet. All the races are getting on the line, and we're really excited to see what's going to happen throughout the course of this distance race. We've got a little bit of rain, we've got a little bit of wind in the forecast, so it's definitely going to be a challenge as these athletes navigate down the river. So let's check out the action and anticipate the start and see who gets off the line first. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Candice. Got to admire her dedication down there on the water. She wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, Candice, she's staying in the room right next door to mine, so I know exactly how early she had to get up to make it down there to the starting line. And it's nice to have Candice calling the shots down on the water's edge. As you can see, it's not very well lit. I couldn't see her face, could you?
No, she looked a little bit sort of like a medieval executioner in a certain way, didn't she, with that hood on?
I think I saw a little bit of beady eyes or something.
So Candice down there on the historic River Seine at the start line of our event today. Think about the season, some of the endurance races. Mine goes back to Ocean Beach, San Francisco, Red Bull Heavy Water. Completely different, maybe weather-wise, so a few similarities with the cold and the damp, but otherwise completely different sort of thing out on the river.
Yeah, that is a good point. Red Bull Heavy Water, as we know, was plagued with fog, and it was really cold and very bumpy, a very difficult race. This one's difficult in its own way, It's very cold. There's going to be a lot of traffic. I mean, literally, there's 1,000 open paddlers registered for this event. And how I know that is I saw some jerseys with literally the number 1,000 something on it. And I don't think I've ever seen that anywhere else. So, yeah, there's just going to be a lot of traffic, a lot of swirling water, a lot of current bouncing off everywhere, boat traffic, and just, everything else. So it's going to be tough.
But what a cool story, though. I mean, talk about the growth of the sport and bringing it to new audiences, and it's really cool to see even more participation this year. The first event last year was a big event, and numbers gone up even this year, and a great opportunity for your kind of amateur, your everyday paddler to see some of the big names, the legends of the sports in the very same competition as them.
Yeah, for sure. The Paris Sup Open, is really becoming an iconic race for the sport. They do such a good job, obviously, attracting the open crowd. And you'll see once the lights turn on, so to speak, out there, all the open racers are very enthusiastic. It's not really about winning the open race. It's about having fun. And it looks like we might have had a start right here, Paul.
All right, let's see if we are underway. We're close to it. Okay, we're gone. We're up and going. So here we go. Our final day of the season, the 2019, in terms of the APP World Tour and racing, because we do have another surf event coming up in Gran Canaria next week in the Canary Islands to round out the tour proper. But this is our last day of racing. Sprints all wrapped up yesterday, and we are underway here. So our women athletes will be heading the field out, leading them out this morning.
Yeah, it's tough to see the start, but you can see right there, they're all off and running. Lead men, pretty interesting with that boat right there. I'm sure that boat's going to try to have to get out of the way here soon, but you can see in front, that is Arthur Arukin on that Fanatic board. Closest to us looked like Tituan. Some of the racers dealing with some wake right there. But you see what I mean? There's just a bunch of stuff going on already at the start of this race. And how's that view? Like full city vibe. The lights are shining down still. What a unique experience.
We're going to take in some of the famous landmarks of the city of Paris as we go right through the heart of the city today on the River Seine, which is essentially the beating heart of the river. Some pretty famous bridges and some landmarks as well. I think of the Eiffel Tower, the Notre Dame Cathedral, stuff like that. You got museums such as the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay, all very iconic landmarks in this beautiful city of Paris. But our athletes obviously not really thinking about sightseeing at the moment, all about getting to that finish line. Let's talk about kind of, obviously it's hard not to go off too quick. There's always a tendency in kind of endurance races to get a quick start, and then things will settle down a little bit and everyone kind of gets sorted in the pack.
Absolutely. The idea is to get out to a good start, nice quick start. You want to be up with the lead guys as much as you can. You want to get in that lead pack and draft, and just be in the mix and let the field settle in. Right now, I had a little bit of hard time identifying him, but that's Lincoln Dews on that starboard. As we know, his boards didn't make it here, so that is the third board he's tried this event. So that is Lincoln Dews currently in the lead on that starboard. I believe that was Michael Booth drafting right behind him. That's a great shot right there. There's emerging from the bridge. So that is Lincoln Dudes closest to us. That is Michael Booth on the left of him. And here's Connor right behind the boat right now. So actually Connor, virtually first place. And just how gnarly is that watch they got to deal with right there?
Dealing with a bit of chop coming off the back of the boat as well. In terms of like slipstreaming, what would be the go there? Is there like an agreement to take it in turns at the front as we see in like road cycle races? How does that play out?
Well, at the start it's kind of, if there's boats and stuff, it's every man for himself kind of thing. There really aren't any drafting rules. You kind of take what's given to you. And Connor definitely taking full advantage. And it's super hard on that small of a wake to be on it with someone else, so you have to get behind it.
View from one of our boats with our cameramen down there, bringing you these pictures from downtown Paris, Sunday morning in the French capital. Pretty early morning as well. Sunrise not quite upon us yet, and that cloud cover we've got as well will just keep things a little bit gloomy till the sun will eventually burst through. Our athletes, well, as yet no real drama to talk about early on. Everyone seems to have got off to a reasonable start and getting underway, and now it's all about kind of settling into a comfortable pace and just trying to maintain.
Absolutely, like everyone got out to a nice quick start, and yeah, just letting the dust settle. Usual suspects are up front: Connor, Lincoln, Michael Booth. So that's basically what's happening, just dealing with all the start and all the commotion as the sun starts to rise.
So you see a bit of distance there between our principal camera boat and the pack. So a little early opportunity was taken by some opportunists to just get in the wake of that boat a little bit. Now that boat has moved significantly in front of our pack. And a few little kind of cautious bits of light trying to brighten up the sky a wee bit, but grey skies at the moment in Paris, of course, midwinter here in France. And it's been a pretty wet one most of this throughout the autumn. Had a lot of rain in Europe, flooding in the southeast of France, some pretty wild weather, and that is all part of the challenge. Obviously we think of sports like paddling, and we'd like to be out in the tropics, somewhere beautiful and blue and warm, but hey, the sport's spreading all over the world, and we're here in Paris on the sort of the murky, grey waters of the Seine.
Absolutely, and you can get a good look. The channel's actually pretty narrow, so there's lots of bump coming from every angle, reverbing off the sidewalls, and typically you're not allowed to paddle on the river. So obviously this is a permitted event. They hold this event every year in Paris. Like we said, 1,000 paddlers on the water behind these guys.
This is the 10th year, right, as well, for the paddle.
I believe it is the 10th year, so it's grown every year. And I'm sure we'll get some shots of the open racers. It's always kind of fun to see those guys. Like people are in costume. They're on sup squatches with multiple people on it. you know, just the weirdest, most bizarre stuff you'll see in a paddle race.
Parisians do get into the beach culture as well in the summertime down here. It started around about 5 years ago. I think they got Paris Beach. So they bring a truckload of sand in and make a little beach down on the river.
Nice.
So Parisians can get into a bit of a beach vibe, or a plage as they call it here. But that's very much a summer activity, and that water is pretty cold. In terms of wetsuits, I guess you keep it moving all the time, so you keep them fairly warm. Your feet would obviously be the obvious challenge about keeping those warm.
Yeah, I would think every paddler has booties on today. You know, some have opted for even gloves. Some guys are wearing headbands. You've seen a few dry suits even today, even wetsuits, you know, kind of the Farmer John style, long legs and tank top. As we see Lincoln Dews and Connor Baxter right there on our screen. Still getting used to seeing Lincoln on that starboard. And it is quite tough to pick it all out in the dark. I'm not going to lie. But there's a decent shot right there. So we got Lincoln Dews out front, Connor right behind him. On the other side, forming another little draft train, that is Michael Booth. And I believe Martin Vitry behind him. So that's our top four right now. Lincoln, Connor, Michael, and Martin. So two Aussies, Connor from the U.S. and Frenchman. Oh, there's a great shot. Directly behind us, that's Tituan. Taking advantage.
Quite widespread there on that shot. You see everyone pretty far apart there, but generally speaking, trying to stick to the middle of the river. Generally, that's where the flow will be fastest, right?
Yeah.
And trying to keep away from any little reverbs or weird stuff happening off the banks.
Yep, and I forgot to ask. I know the wind's going to be in their face, but I wasn't sure if they're with the current or against the current at the moment until they flip around the island. But obviously, Tituan on his own in the left, milking these little waves that are being provided from the jet ski. Coming into the rear end of our screen, that's Itzel Delgado from Peru by himself. Looks like he's about 4 board lengths behind that lead pack. He's going to want to make his way and get in the mix as well. So we got a pretty big pack right here, trying to ID everybody.
In terms of the length of course and stuff like that, it's a pretty typical length. Is this a long one? Is this going to take a little bit more endurance? How does this compare to your typical endurance sup races?
Yeah, it's pretty average. I believe it's 8 miles. What is that, 14K or so?
Yeah, something like that.
So pretty typical for what the APP does. You know, they do about an 8-mile distance race every time, so these guys are expecting it. This is probably the worst conditions besides Rebel Heavy Water. So we all knew, you know, they all knew the forecast, so nothing new, but they're all prepared for it. So there's Lincoln, Connor, Michael Booth, Martin Vitry, another Frenchman. Mo Freitas up in there. Tituan on the left. Maybe Leonard Necka, Tom Aubert.
Christian Anderson there, the young Dane. And it's like he's gone short sleeves. So unless that's just his wetsuit, it's pretty hard to tell in this light, but short sleeves, he's not feeling the cold.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good call. It's probably, you know, starting off too cold, but he'll probably like that decision as this race goes on. Looks like he's putting in some work to try to get on Danny Ching's tail right there. So Christian having a great sprint result, actually beating Danny Ching in one of his heats yesterday.
Yeah, and one of the young kind of fresh-faced talents, and really was undeterred by coming up against some of the legends yesterday. As you mentioned, Danny Ching took him down. Did it all with a smile on his face. Out there showing his endurance chops this morning. Yeah, just backdoor in this section on the bridge here. early morning in the French capital. 10th year of this race, the Nautique River Paddle. Second year the APP has been here with the elite professional athletes from around the world. Representation from as far away as Australia, New Caledonia, Hawaii, of course the USA, all across Europe, Japan. So a real cosmopolitan field. And the world title will be up for grabs for the men. Decided it for the women yesterday. Seychelles, emotional scenes for her down here, and brilliant day. I wonder how hard it'll be for Seychelles' point of view, just kind of park that celebration and get ready to race again.
Yeah, I mean, she was very excited, obviously, and it'll be curious to see what her focus is today. You know, does she really want it, or is she, you know, settling into her world title and just kind of going through the motions? So
eating a baguette and a croissant.
Yeah, so we'll try to get a women's update here shortly, but right now you are looking at the lead pack for the men. It's been super interesting to watch Tituan basically paddle by himself the entire time so far. That's him on that NSP with that bright nose board. And out in front on that starboard, if you don't recognize that paddle style on a starboard, that is because I believe it's Lincoln Dews borrowing a board. His equipment did not make it. There's Boothie right behind him, Martin Vitry.
And with that pretty sharp haircut, he's got a pretty rad undercut kind of mullet vibe going, which we enjoyed yesterday in the pool.
Absolutely, the speed cut. But look at Lincoln. Lincoln on a borrowed board right now, leading this race. You can see in the foreground, Anthony Vela on that boat. There's Tituan buzzing by us. Surfing USA, check that out, Paul.
Okay, so this is Notre Dame, the famous cathedral. Obviously, there was a fire here last year. We're just going past the island, which houses the very famous Notre Dame Cathedral. First construction, first got underway. You want to have a guess, mate? When do you think construction went down at Notre Dame?
Oh man, I don't even want to guess.
You're quite right. It's the 12th century, the 1170s, I think. It kicked out down there. And had a big fire last year. So 1163 to 1345. That's a big construction project right there. It took them a while.
Absolutely.
It took them 180 years to get that one put together.
Brick by brick.
Completed in 1345. The cathedral is 128 meters. That's 420 feet long, 48 meters wide. 2 towers. Used to have 2 towers. One of them, the spire, was actually destroyed in the fire last year. It's a great shot of Notre Dame. So the rebuilding work is underway, but pretty catastrophic fire there. Nevertheless, one of the great visited sites in France. And of course, the setting for the very famous Victor Hugo novel, Hunchback of Notre Dame. Victor Hugo, incidentally, you'll like this. He was a writer, French writer, based on the island of Guernsey. He did all his work standing up. So he didn't like sitting down at a chair. So a nice parallel for us stand-up athletes.
Yep.
He had a kind of a high desk.
Yes.
And he wrote everything standing up. He'd stand up 8 to 10 hours a day writing.
Hey, and that's getting kind of trendy these days, the stand-up desks in the office space.
Yep.
In the corporate world, a lot of people are opting to stand up. Itzel Delgado, Tom Aubert behind him. These guys put in some work, though. They've kind of caught up to, you know, they're not too far behind that lead pack now. And looks like Itzel still continuing to surge, going to try to catch up to Mo Freitas right in front of him.
I just want to ask you a little bit about stances. Generally, everyone's got the parallel, the Duke stance, but sometimes you see slightly more of a staggered surf stance. What would be, how does that preference play out? Why would some athletes go for a slightly different stance?
Yeah, for sure. The staggered stance kind of opens your stroke a little bit more. So someone like Danny Ching, he actually switches stance every time he switches sides of the board. So he'll open his stance goofy foot in his left hand. He'll open his stance right on his right hand. There's Danny right there. He's standing pretty parallel at the moment, but he's definitely famous for doing that. And through these long distance races too, it's imperative to move your feet. You know, if you just stand in that parallel stance, you know, you start getting stiff. So it's just different ways to relax your muscles as well. But the main reason, it opens up your hips and creates a little bit more power. It takes a lot of practice to do it switch stance, but these guys obviously are the best in the world. Yeah, look at Danny right there. He just looks like he's surging. There must be, you know, some currents and wakes and stuff these guys are picking up on, because you'll see these guys pick up their cadence really quick.
Getting in close to the bank there. Wow, okay.
I believe Tom O'Bear just catching a little bit of an edge. There's Casper right there.
So, world title talk for that man on your screen there. Casper Steinfath, winner. Excuse me, runner-up yesterday in the sprints in the pool. And it is a straight head-to-head tussle between him and the Frenchman Arthur Arruquin to see who can take out the 2019 title. We'll follow Casper, pick him up, emerging from that bridge right through the centre of Paris, France. Sunday early morning breakfast time. People just kind of waking up to coffee and a croissant lazily. We're not the world's best paddle athletes. They've been up probably since around about 5 a.m. or earlier, getting their prep done. Getting ready for a final day of competition, which will see us, our course, we're going to go up towards an island, flip around and come back. Of course, Paris, the name Paris, goes back not to ancient Greece, not something to do with the Paris of Greek mythology, named after a local tribe, the Parisi. They were a tribe of Celts. That's where the name comes from.
Wow, I'm learning all these good little tidbits from you today, Paul.
Wikipedia, mate. No, none of this is mine.
Oh, yeah, I do see you have your cell phone open. And you are on Google.
A few little screenshots off Wiki.
There you go. Back to the action. So we got quite a big draft train forming up. Looks like the tail end of it is Danny Ching. We're going from back to front. That's Christian Anderson, Itzel Delgado. I believe that's Tom O'Bear on that Fanatic, and then Mo Freitas on the left of our screen. In front of him, Leonard Necker, I believe. Arthur Arruquin, Connor Baxter, Martin Vitry. I believe that might be Tom O'Bear's brother, Marius O'Bear, in the 4th position. But our top 3 is Lincoln Dews, Michael Booth, and Tituan Poyu. And Danny Ching trying to get in the mix. Look at these bumps on tap for everybody. Real technical paddling. These bumps provide opportunities for the packs to break up. As you can see, like, it's just spreading out. They were in a big long line just moments ago. And it's nice to have bumps and stuff happening, because it gives opportunities like these guys in the back to maybe catch up to the front. And they're going to make this turn.
So much more generous kind of angle in terms of making this turn compared with our buoy turns yesterday, but nevertheless, real important to nail this. Could get a little bit of a log jam if someone gets it wrong, but looks pretty clean from here, as we'll just pan around wide and we'll go back down the other side of the island in the middle of the river where the famous Notre Dame Cathedral is located.
And those guys cutting that turn quite close right there. And you see just how narrow the playing field is. Pretty much impossible not to have boat wakes and drafting and situations like that happen during this race.
So we'll head back down and get a look at Notre Dame from the other side. Just checking out that turn, go down there. And almost kind of daybreak here in Paris this morning, Sunday morning. Pretty chilly one, not quite as cold as we've had a couple of days ago, but a bit more wind, blustery stuff. The west wind that we're getting at the moment, generally a little bit milder, and the wind blows from the east. That's when it gets really chilly around here. You get those, what they call the Siberian easterly, which blows off the continent of Europe. It comes over from the mainland, freezing cold. We've got a maritime wind at the moment. Let's go down to Candice and get an update on conditions. She's down on the water. What have you got for us, Candice?
The corner, so we've got our first women coming up. You can see some of the pink racers. Those are the pro-ams from the Nautic paddle. But our top female APP athletes are in yellow jerseys. So coming around the island here, let's see who we have. We're coming up. It looks like leading the pack on her starboard is Fiona Wild, making the turn right now, followed by Seychelle Webster. And right behind her, getting edged out a little bit by one of the Pro-Am racers, is April Zilg. So there's your top three: Fiona Wild, Seychelle Webster, April Zilg, and we've got the rest of the pack coming up right behind. Looks like on her razzle dazzle we have Suzak Molinaro about to come around the corner on that black and yellow board, and another nice long draft pack of women right behind her. Back to you guys in the booth.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, Candice. Wow, Fiona Wild there almost looked like she was pulling in behind the branch of that tree there, getting a little chew behind the weeping willow. Like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could see, you know, like Candice was saying, the pink versus yellow. The yellow are the pros. The pink are the open racers that they're having to navigate through. And, you know, it could be a little bit of a tactic. Fiona going inside, maybe, you know, trying to get an edge and maybe get cut off by the open racer. And you could see April wasn't quite on their tail. So we'll see if April could catch up and get on that tail.
Yeah, real cool to see those tactics go down there. And it did look like our American out of Oregon, Fiona Wilds, leading the women's elite race at the moment. Of course, a great water woman across many disciplines, known for endurance. And as well, coming from Oregon, she won't be completely unaccustomed to a bit of chill weather.
Yep, and that looks like the chase pack of the pro women in the yellow right there. Hard to exactly get an ID quite yet. But they're making their way through the open paddlers.
So we are just staying on that bend around the island, which features the very famous Cathédrale Notre Dame, the Notre Dame Cathedral, situated in the middle of the river. Taking some landmarks of the beautiful city of Paris. We're all warm in our little studio inside the Salon Nautique, from where we had the sprints yesterday. Watching these live pictures being beamed from our camera positions. Our cameramen doing great work out there in the dark basically when we started off the race, but now in a kind of a gloomy dawn. Maybe not quite as much wind as we had forecast. We had a quick shot. Saw a couple of the French tricolor flags flying on top of the buildings there. Certainly not stiff blown in that breeze, so maybe slightly lighter winds than we kind of feared a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from where we're at, but doesn't look all that windy quite yet. I know it's nice and wet.
See the tree, you know, it's not much. It's kind of hanging there, that weeping willow.
You are correct. It's pretty still right there. But I know walking over here, you know, it wasn't a hard pouring rain, but it was like a constant, you know, mist. And I was definitely wet by the time I got here.
Did you get done by any of those kind of flapping verandas? I got done by one of them. I walked underneath it.
Fortunately, I managed to escape that.
So let's pick up the action here from the back of one of our filming boats. We're back on the turn. And as we mentioned, our elite athletes, they're in those bright green, yellow. The pink athletes on a sub-squatch there. Those are our amateurs. And a big turnout of them, as we mentioned earlier, 1,000 of them out in the water. 10th year.
Yeah, and it looks like the lead pack just made their second turn. So that is Fiona Wild, Seychelle in second on her tail, and that was April Zilg in third. This looks like this is the main chase pack of the women. I believe that is Lina Agaitis from Canada. You see Suzak Molinaro making that turn again in fourth, solo fourth. So it looks like Lina is leading this chase pack of Could be Stephanie Schindler. I think I see Shea Foudy in the mix right there as well. And Caterina Stenta from Italy in the mix. So looks like they did their first loop, circling back.
So a couple of laps around the islands.
And it's still quite dark out. There's a good long shot. You can see all the open paddlers making their way under the bridge. See one guy fall in at the turn, but it gives you a good vantage point from right here. Get the landscape. And I see a lot of yellow jerseys heading this way. We'll see if that's the leaders once again.
So a chill, gloomy morning in Paris. Dawn coming reluctantly for our elite paddlers. It's the final day of the APP Tour racing season. And a world championship up for grabs for the men's division. Decided yesterday here in the sprints in the pool at the Salon Nautique. The men's very much up for grab today. The head-to-head, we'll obviously get more into that as we get towards the finish. But essentially, Steinfath and Arrutka, those two will be duking it out for supremacy. And just thinking about that story from Casper, it's been a few years he's been trying to get that title. It's eluded him so far. It's pretty close. He's so close he can touch it. Could this be his year?
Yeah, and you heard him talk about it, how he hasn't really been focusing on distance racing, not nearly as much as he has in the past, and so he really wanted to concentrate and be the sprint world champion. So that was a goal for him, but coming into this, so he actually skipped a distance race, but then what really turned around was he took first place at Red Bull Heavywater, and all of a sudden he was, in the conversation for the world title, because there's been a lot of, moving and shaking in the rankings. And so, yeah, Casper looking for that world title and has a really good shot of sealing the deal.
Okay, we're looking at the Musée d'Orsay there with its famous collection of impressionist work, particularly thinking of artists like Monet and those kind of artists. Obviously, the other very famous gallery, there's loads of them here in Paris, but La Louvre would be kind of the most famous one. That's the one with the Mona Lisa in.
Yep.
But this is Musée d'Orsay, mainly celebrated for impressionist art, but also one of the most visited places in Paris. And if you're an art lover, if you like food, if you like looking at architecture, what a place to come visit Paris, known as the City of Lights, La Ville Lumière, partly because of its role in the Age of Enlightenment in the 18th century, and partly because it was one of the first cities in the world to have gas street lighting. So literally the City of Lights had lights on the streets.
Wow.
So there we go, that's where the City of Light comes from.
That's fantastic.
Thanks,
Great.
There we go.
Thanks, Wiki.
Okay, so 5, 4, 3,
Great.
2.
Let's go to Candice. She's down there, Candice Appleby.
I don't know. I just consider.
Okay, we'll just wait, see if we can pick up Candice Appleby. She's on a boat somewhere down there, bringing us some cool insights, literally from the waters of the River Seine. We'll see if we can pick her up as she follows our athletes. We'll just stay with these pictures for now. So in terms of safety equipment and this kind of thing, leashes, obviously a very good idea out in the water. Okay, let's go to Candice. Candice Appleby. we'll just stay with our pictures for the moment here. We'll try and pick up Candice and see what she's got for us down there, as we are out on the River Seine for our final day of racing of the year in 2019. And we are looking to decide and crown a men's world champ to join Seychelles Webster, 2019 world champ yesterday. And this pack here, these are people doing it for fun. Obviously, some of them taking it pretty seriously as well. And what a great opportunity for some 1,000+ amateurs to be involved in the same race as the elite paddlers in the world.
Yep, and you can see the equipment. Lots of wetsuits, lots of dry suits, lots of caps and beanies. Definitely, I haven't seen one person with bare feet out there. Wisely so. You'll see lots of gloves. And it sounds like we finally got Candice down on the water's edge.
We'll be crowning sprint, distance, and overall tour champions this weekend. Got a combination of sprint racing, really exciting action going to happen in the pool at the
So we're having a little bit of issues reaching Candice down on the boat, but we'll definitely check in with her as soon as we can to get an update as we continue to see the open racers just get after it. A Sunday stroll in Paris.
Yeah, what's do you ever get music going when you're out for long paddles? I remember that was a thing a few years back, wasn't it? I mean, back then it was like waterproof iPod housings, but are you music, or do you just like to listen to the sound of the elements and the wind and nature?
Yeah, for sure. I'll if I'm doing some distance stuff, I'll definitely put some music on. Oh, and we got the little Star Wars battle happening on the water. Stormtroopers. I couldn't imagine paddling 8 miles in that whole getup. But oh, there's a couple Jawas on the front too. Is that a Jawa?
I am your father, Luke.
Oh my gosh.
So getting into the costumes down there. Some stormtroopers. Don't think I saw a Sith. But everyone getting. What sort of tunes, man? What do you got going? Is it just death metal, or what? What are you into?
Well,
There's some panpipe boots, maybe.
Well, usually you got your set list or your playlist ready, and then you just shuffle that baby. But I've also been doing podcasts on the distance
good.
race.
Yeah, good.
You know, might as well get enlightened.
Yeah, yep.
While I'm getting my miles in. But mostly these guys, when they're racing, they're not putting music in their ears, even the distance stuff, because you actually want to be pretty vocal. You know, if you're working together, and you want to hear everything what's going around you, because these guys actually communicate a lot more than you would think. A lot of shuffling in the draft train.
Bit of heckling.
Yeah, heckling for sure. Yeah. There's a couple guys that are real not chippy, chatty rather. Like Danny's one who talks a lot. Okay, I think we got Candice down on the front lines. What do you got for us, Candice?
All right, we're down here, and we have our top recreational paddlers. They're leading the charge here. We're waiting for our top pro men and women to come back around from doing that lap around the island. We've got a few hundred paddlers in the front of this sea of green for the Nautic paddle. There's about 1,000 of them, and so the front markers are making their way towards the finish. Pretty soon our pros will be approaching. We have beautiful sights all around. You can see a Ferris wheel in the background that's part of the Christmas markets, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful time here in Paris. It's cold, it's rainy, but these athletes are staying warm because they're paddling hard. Back to you guys.
God, thanks, Candice. That sound there of the rain kind of landing on Candice and her mic reminds me a little bit of rain on a tent, which at the one point is kind of nice. I don't mind the sound of rain falling, light rain on a tent. Then that realization comes usually around 3 a.m. the tent's actually leaking. There's like a lake forming in around your sleep bag. Then it sucks.
Yeah, then it sucks. And I'm glad you pointed it out, because at first I thought maybe she was popping some popcorn. I was a little jealous. They don't feed us in the booth over here, Polly.
She is looking quite chill down there, isn't she? She is looking pretty fresh in the elements on the river, but putting a brave face on it. Great job, Candice Appleby, of course, one of our elite athletes, unable to compete at the moment. And over here doing an awesome job on commentary. Really enjoyed having her as part of the team, bringing you this live broadcast from the French capital and checking out the Nautic paddle. throngs of Parisians and the like. It's a pretty international field. I saw some of the entry lists, some of the, not all Frenchies, there's a bunch of Europeans from all different places, and obviously Paris city with some 10 million inhabitants, so very much a cosmopolitan hub of life here in Europe. So great to see entrants from all over the world taking part in this race. But yeah, you can't, hard to pick up from those shots just how hard it's raining, but we saw from Candice, and we particularly heard, there's a bit of a pitter-patter going.
Yeah, it's coming down for sure. And Candice in that dry robe, I got one of those, and I could attest they keep you very dry, as the name says. So lucky for her to have that good jacket.
So we just saw on that previous shot from the flags, there is a bit of blustery breeze going now. We saw the French tricolor, the red, white and blue, blanc, rouge of the French flag there, and the European Union flag. That's the right of those two, the blue one. And that marker buoy that you see there with green and red means you can go either side of it as a navigational buoy. Generally speaking, in this part of the world, a red buoy, you would leave to your port side. So you would go to the right of it. Not the same, obviously, in the Americas and in the South Pacific. It's the opposite system they got over there. But that buoy, anyway, the red and green one, either side of it. Sunday morning in Paris, getting up close towards Christmas. Candice mentioned the Christmas markets. It's becoming a bigger and bigger thing in Europe, because tradition that started off in Germany. So Germany, very famous for its Christmas markets that start at the end of November, early December.
One thing you can mention right now is just that our lead athletes, our APP athletes, are having to battle through a pack of 1,000 people. And it's hard for our boats to go in and out of the pack. That's why our boats are waiting for the lead athletes to come back to them right now. Okay.
So as we just check out this scene here, basically we mentioned the participation, 1,000 amateur paddlers. Our lead athletes are having to basically negotiate this pack and get through it. So can't get in amongst that lot for obvious reasons. So we're just hanging back a little bit at the moment and waiting to pick up our elite athletes. If you're wondering where they are, they're still going, but they just got to try and come through this lot. So a lap around the island. We're just watching that turning spot there. And the amateurs, there's a bit of kneeling going on. That's some sub-squat action. And we've got some costumes, some fancy dress, all in a very good spirit, because France is quite famous for some various endurance races with a difference. They've got the very famous Marathon de Médoc, Médoc being one of the classic wine regions down there in Bordeaux, and there's a marathon that goes on in September every year. It's not your typical marathon, a road race, 26.2 miles. This one goes literally through the vineyards and stops off at chateaus, and you actually drink some of the beautiful red wines of that region while you're under. Well, you don't have to, but it's an option. So France will take a different approach to some endurance races, but obviously at the pointy end of things, we have the elite athletes, and we're just hoping soon to get their re-emergence as they try and come through. Just literally 1,000 or so Parisians enjoying their time out there in the water, but at the same time, always important to keep things very much safety at a premium. That is cold water, there are currents out there. So every safety precaution being taken by our race organisers in a 10th year, doing a great job bringing this cool sport to the French capital. We're just waiting to pick up our athletes. See if we can find them for you on the river here. Still trying to negotiate this big pack. 1,000 strong. Musée d'Orsay there on the right of your shot. Check out some very famous works by the likes of Van Gogh. If you want to check out his sunflowers, for example. The chair, that's all in the Musée d'Orsay. Check out some of Monet's series paintings, they'll be in there. Think of the likes of Pissarro, Renoir, all the great impressionists. And that's Candice Appleby down there on the river with a beady eye on things. She's going to keep us updated as and when. All right, here we go. We got some elite athletes. All right, so let's pick things up here with our elite paddlers. We just had to deal with these guys, had to come through a big pack. And our boat couldn't get in too close to pick them up on camera, and now they've come through. And we can bring you situations and updates in terms of positioning. The big talking point, of course, is the world title, and it will be Casper Steinfach, or it will be Arthur Arutkin, the Frenchman. Denmark or France for the men this year. USA clinched the title for the women in the former Seychelles Webster. And we'll see if we can pick up Casper. See whereabouts he is, as you mentioned earlier, Beanie, Dave. Known for sprinting, but hey, surprised himself with a wicked performance in heavy water, the Red Bull event. And if he can replicate some of that sort of stuff, go head-to-head against Arthur, he'll be world champion in 2019.
Definitely feeling good after the Red Bull Heavy Water. You know, that was his second time winning Red Bull Heavy Water. So that really jump-started his campaign for this world championship. It's a great shot right there. Itzel Delgado. It's Titouan Poyu on his tail. I believe that is Marius Aubert in front of him. So Itzel Delgado did some work. You know, when we were last checking in with the pack, he was about in 8th or 9th place. And I think I saw Martin Vitry on the tail of Titouan. So when we left before, Titouan was in 3rd and Martin Vitry was in 4th. So now Itzel looks like he may be in 3rd place. So you see right there, Itzel, Titouan. Looks like Martin Vitry and Tom Aubert at the end of that train right there. Itzel looking good. Itzel just coming off a silver medal at the ISA, as Titouan, I believe, got the gold. So these guys in top form. And Martin Vitry, as you said, with that new speedy mohawk mullet hybrid hairstyle.
I wonder if they call a mullet a moulet in France.
Ooh, I like
the
sound of that.
Yeah.
I do like moulet.
You've probably still got a bit of time when we wrap up today, mate. We're not flying out till tomorrow morning. We'll probably find a salon for you if you want to go and get something done.
Hey, you know what? There's probably going to be some alcoholic beverages after this show, and you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe a moulet might show up. But a good job by the open racers, kind of clearing the path for the lead pack to make their way through. Almost like when the fire or the police are coming, everyone pulls over to the side. And look how many paddlers decided to wake up before the sun and go paddle in the rain. And that just blows my mind.
After this, they're going to go get back home, all toweled off and warm and showered, and then maybe go on the Infinity website and check out the range, maybe order themselves something. Why not? Hey. Christmas is coming, mate.
Oh, hey, I need a ticket home, so please buy something. There we go, another sub-squatch. Are these mermaids? Is this Little Mermaid and the... Oh my God, I could not imagine paddling 8 miles on that thing.
So that was the black and white flag. That was the Breton flag, Brittany. So that's out in the northwest of France, a bit that kind of sticks out of the top into the Atlantic. Of course, very famous ocean-going nautical region, real famous for sailing.
Right there.
Looks like Candice might have been pointing at the astronaut squad. See the sub squatch right there, a bunch of astronauts on it. You never know what you're going to see. But there we go, right in the middle of your screen. That is your lead pack. Still leading the way, Lincoln Dews on that starboard, that borrowed starboard. Connor Baxter in second. Maurice Aubert, Michael Booth in fourth, and Itzel Delgado basically tied for fourth, making his way from 9th to 10th place. I'm impressed by the Peruvian. And Tituan behind him, so that is your leaders. And it's super interesting to see Boothie kind of hanging in that fourth spot. You know, he definitely usually likes to lead the race or even, you know, stay second. It's not often you see him third and fourth. You know, I think he just likes to be out in front, but right now, oh, he's basically tied for second, side drafting Connor.
All right, let's go down and hear from Candice Appleby out on the water.
They're merging through the sea of green right now in the lead. We have Lincoln Dews. Right behind him is Connor Baxter. Side drafted Connor is Michael Booth. And then I see Arturo Rutkin in fourth position, but also equal with Itzel Delgado on his right side. And behind him is Tituan Pio, followed by Marcus Vitry. So we have our top 7 paddlers right now. Lincoln Dews, Michael Booth, Connor Baxter, Itzel Delgado. I believe that might be Arturo Rutkin. I need to get a confirmation on that. And Tituan Pio and Marcus Vitry. So that's our top 7 paddlers right now.
Let's not get behind them.
Back to you guys in the booth.
Well, if that is Arturo Rutkin world title news, he's in a world title position at the moment. The race would have finished now. They're across the finish line. He's the 2019 world champ. Casper Steinfach will need to reel him in somehow, some way, if he's going to clinch a title. Can Arturo defend it? Let's see how that plays out. Here we go.
Wow, and look at this, Paul. I'm loving this. Itzel Delgado making his move. He's in third place now, overtaking Connor. As you see Connor and Tituan settle in behind Itzel. So Itzel top 3. This would be a huge result for Itzel Delgado to finish out the year. And I believe Candice is misidentifying that board because that's an Oxbow board. That is not Arthur Rutkin. I'm pretty sure it's Marios Aubert, Tom Aubert's brother. But the story right now, Lincoln Dews on his borrowed starboard, Michael Booth in second, and Itzel Delgado from Peru on that Infinity Blackfish. It's actually my old board. He is using my personal board. You know there's some mojo in there.
Tell us about the Blackfish.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a board designed for this stuff. It's an all-around style board. So kind of just like those All-Stars. But Michael Booth, you see, opting to ride the Sprint, which is more of the flat water board, but he tends to ride in most everything. But most racers out here today riding a more of an all-around design. And the planing holes are really nice at drafting. They kind of settle in right in the wash. You know, they have a nice wider bulbous style nose that just almost feels like it wants to pull into the draft. So Lincoln, Michael Booth, and Itzel Delgado. It's pretty cool. Michael Booth, you know, he's got another Instagram page called Training by Boothie. So he actually trains a lot of the top athletes. He provides them training protocols designed around their schedule and what they want to accomplish. And one of his students is Itzel Delgado. So Itzel right behind his training partner, Michael Booth. You got Connor Baxter right behind him, Tituan, and Marius Aubert. Curious to see what happened to Martin Vitry. He was in that top 3-4 positions when we first saw these guys. But look at Lincoln Dews. He's looking solid. You can see he gave a little quick look over his shoulder. He might have been trying to make a little surge, seeing if everybody was willing to stay with him. But Michael Booth looks really comfortable behind him right now. See him looking behind. when you have enough time to look behind, you're pretty locked in. So I bet he's pretty stoked to look over his shoulder and see Itzel there, you know. So we got Lincoln Dews, Michael Booth, Itzel Delgado. As we said, making his way up. He was out of the front pack, maybe sitting in 9th or 10th. Really did a lot of good work to get up here in a podium position. Connor settling in behind him as well, looking very relaxed, finding his breath and energy. And Titoan's quietly been lurking too, so look for Titoan to make a surge towards the end of this race.
Yeah, the New Caledonian finding himself in very unfamiliar terrain. See out there in New Caledonia, they got the barrier reef around it, so you got the big broad lagoon of flat water. Great surf if you can get a boat out there and find some of those kinks, some of those false passes in the reef, little elbows. But finding himself in the French capital of Paris, in the cold waters of the River Seine. But going great guns at the moment and holding his own with some of the breast distance paddlers. Pretty comfortable at the front, nice rhythm, settled in, just keeping that breathing going.
Yeah, and if you take a quick look at it, you can see the leader, Lincoln, if you count his strokes per minute versus Boothie and Itzel, you know, he's taken maybe 1.5 strokes more than those guys. So that's the advantage of being in the draft train.
So doing a lot more work at the front, but he doesn't mind it. Seems to be up for the challenge, certainly. But he's working that pretty hard. And this is where the training all pays off, doesn't it? All those hours spent just honing the body, the athleticism, the lung power in particular, and most of all stamina, because it's going to be cold and uncomfortable. About gritting the teeth and getting it done.
Yep, and Lincoln, when you're in the lead, you kind of, it's one of those things where, you know, you want to keep a good pace, but you don't want to overextend yourself. So it's a little bit of a cat and mouse of lulling the guys behind you to sleep a little bit and making a surge and seeing if they could stick with you, trying to constantly break them at certain points when they, you know, when you think someone's daydreaming or maybe just not paying attention. And it looked like Lincoln put in a good effort to try to ditch those guys once or twice during that long span that we watched him. But he finally looked over his shoulder and saw that they were still there. So looks like he's kind of settling in on the side. Watch for Michael Booth to try to move into the lead here.
Quick shot the Eiffel Tower there. We're going past some of the most famous landmarks in the entire world. Of course, the Eiffel Tower, probably the most famous building in Europe, France, certainly one of the most recognizable places in the world. Construction started on the 28th of January 1887. It was actually built for the World Expo that year. Named after Gustave Eiffel, who was the man behind the company that put it together. It was the tallest building in the world, I think, up until about the 1920s, something around that.
Wow. Yep, and you can see Michael Booth creeping up on the side, doing a little side drafting now. And the side draft usually gives you a little bit more relief than being behind, but it takes a lot more skill to stay there. Obviously, these guys seasoned and very, very skilled. And Michael Booth getting the rewards of that side draft. Really impressed of Itzel Delgado there in third. Sticking with these guys because those guys have made a couple efforts to break. And when that happens, you really got to get going. And Itzel's managed to hang on thus far. You could see Connor no longer in the screen. So Connor dropping back somewhere behind these guys. He was in fourth, so Titoan still in fourth place. Mario Sober in fifth place. And I'm not sure if Connor, just at a screen behind the camera boat, is there or not. But the story right now, dark horse, Itzel Delgado in third.
There's Anthony Vela. Our race director there. Just keeping a watchful eye on things and making sure that everything sticks within the rules and parameters of racing. Obviously, everyone's been thoroughly briefed. Had a competitors briefing yesterday, finding out about this course. As you mentioned, not normally allowed on the waters, so not really opportunity to practice as such out here, but obviously these men and women, very experienced, accomplished athletes, and a bit of a move here from Boothie.
Yep, and as expected, Boothie was there on the side for a bit, but decides to take the lead. Lincoln will kindly let him do that.
Thanks, buddy.
And he is on that side draft, so he's not relinquishing the lead, so to speak, kind of staying side by side. And it sounds like we got Candace with another report. What do you got, Candace?
These guys are really working hard. We have the front half of 5 and a slight workout for 6 and 7. But you've got Michael Booth and Lincoln being side by side, followed by the Booth and Prince. It's a Delgado. Position, fourth position, excuse me, and in fifth position, Archer Wilkin fighting for that overall world title. And just behind them, I saw Connor Baxter and Martin Vitry bringing up 6th and 7th position. So these guys are battling. The current is moving fairly quickly with them, but the waters are a bit choppy. It's cold, and we're coming towards the end of this race. They've got a couple things left. It's going to be really exciting to see what happens at the finish line here. We've got Carlos and Green right next to them as well, so it's going to be a tight finish. And Lincoln and Michael are really battling it out right now. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Candice. Great job there. Battling out adverse conditions. My question remaining is, where is Casper Steinfath? Where is Arthur Arruquin in that world title story?
It's very interesting. Yeah, like, you know, there's a few names that we'd expect to be in that mix that are missing, like Arthur Arruquin, Danny Ching even. I'm wondering where he's at. Connor Baxter no longer in this frame. I see Martin Vitry bringing up the rear, but I don't see anyone behind him. So somewhere along the lines, Connor Baxter fell out of position. Looks like we're switching camera angles. I'm going to wipe the lens. And there you go, Eiffel Tower. How's that pronunciation right there? Eiffel.
La Tour Eiffel. Let's talk a bit more about the visitors. 6.91 million people climbed up it in 2015. It's the most visited paid monument in the world. 324 meters tall, that's 1,063 feet. It's about the same height as an 81-story building. Tallest structure in Paris.
And impressive indeed, the Eiffel Tower. I've gone there a few times, but the line's been so big to get to the top, I've yet to do that.
Yeah, you can pay extra to kind of jump the line and stuff.
Yeah, I just never have. You know, I've done the you know, far away, like, look, there's Eiffel Tower selfie, but I haven't actually been inside. And check this out. So T-Tawan out on the side, making a little bit of a move. He's been pretty quiet the last few moments. Probably found some boat wakes or some chop to where he thought he had an opportunity. And it looked like Martin Vitry in solo 5th or solo 6th, about 3 board lengths away from this lead pack. There's Martin right there on that red board. So he's done pretty well to make his way back up. Dropped off the lead pack for a bit and currently solo 6. So the Frenchman, Martin Vitry. And I think we heard Candace say they're paddling up current now. So they've been paddling for quite a while. And to hit the up current at the final leg of the stretch, that's got to be hurting.
Brutal. Be some burns going in some major muscle groups for elite athletes and amateurs alike.
So in the screen right there, that's Martin Vitry, the Frenchman. And right there on the far left, you saw he's about board lengths out of the lead pack. You see a couple open racers go down next to the building right there.
So we're getting close towards the final couple of clicks in this one. The APP World Tour's final racing day of 2019. Sprints in the Salon Nautique in the Paris Convention Center yesterday. Today, endurance course on the famous River Seine, right in the heart of Paris. And a world title at stake for the men. Women's was decided yesterday. It's all going to go down pretty shortly. In the next half hour or so, we should know who our men's world champ is for 2019 on the APP World Tour. Here's our lead pack. And very much sort of daylight now in Paris. Very much gloomy conditions. It's a tough day to be out in the water. It's not your classic kind of conditions, but it's what racing's all about. And it's just asking another question of our athletes. Who wants to do it? Who wants to get it done when the conditions are least inviting?
Yeah, and out in front right now, Lincoln Dews on a borrowed board, looking quite comfortable. And I saw Lincoln post on his Instagram, wasn't satisfied with his result yesterday here in the pool in the sprint, so definitely looking for redemption today. Michael Booth always looking for the distance win. Virtually the odds-out favorite in any distance race he enters. And it's just fun to see a couple new faces in that lead pack. Itzel Delgado putting in the work, sitting in third from Peru. And also another local boy, Marius Aubert, in fourth place. So this is going to be potentially a huge result for a fresh face to the APP World Tour. And, you know, the veteran, Tituan, rounding out that top five. So definitely putting some interesting placings for the final day of competition. You know, like we said, you know, Danny Ching's somewhere in the mix over there. We haven't seen Connor Baxter anymore. What happened to Arthur Arukin? Where's Mo Freitas? He was up in front for a bit.
We've got more questions than answers for the moment, haven't we?
Yeah. So obviously guys dropping, maybe hitting the wall. You know, usually through the camera it makes it look a little nicer than it actually is. Well, I can't stress to you enough how cold it is out there, how cold the water is, and just how bumpy the conditions are. You get all those weird chops that come from the side, from the different angles. It's not just straight in your face. You're getting from all sorts of angles, so you got to definitely pay attention. You see some open racers just giving way. It's got to be cool though for an open racer. You're like, oh, I hear something. You turn around like, what? That's Michael Booth.
All right, gives you a good appreciation of the speed as well, as you just see him absolutely leaving the fun participants standing as our leading pack of elite men hammer past on the River Seine, coming towards the end part of the race here on a Sunday morning in Paris. We're taking in landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower, the Musée d'Orsay, La Louvre, the Cathédrale Notre-Dame, and we are finishing 2019 in fine style. Who is going to take out that men's world title to join Seychelles Webster, who won? Got it done early in the pool yesterday. Didn't want to leave it down to chance out in the water. And she was crowned world champ. Absolutely elated she was yesterday. Who's going to join her from the men? We still haven't seen much from Casper or Arthur. So we're as we were in terms of the pack. A little move from Boothie, and he's gone back in the second spot.
Yeah, Boothie was side drafting Lincoln for a bit. And I'm thinking Lincoln might have got some relief from his side draft as well. Decided to jump back into the front position once again. Boothie's completely fine being in second. He usually likes to be in first or second in these races. It's rare you see him in third, fourth, or fifth. He likes to be right in striking distance. if you're wondering why Lincoln Dews looks different today, it's because his personal boards didn't make the trip. He had issues bringing it on the airplane, which is always one of the main factors when traveling abroad. I know, at least for my team riders like Itzel and Shea Foudy, we wouldn't have had boards here unless we had our friends Tanya and Ronnie Mock from Switzerland, all the way from Switzerland, drive boards here to Paris and allow them to use their personal boards. So
Wow.
thank you to Ronnie and Tanya for making that trip. But obviously Lincoln looking pretty comfortable on that starboard out in front. But you got to be stoked for some new faces in that front lead pack, and that's Itzel Delgado on his Infinity Blackfish in third, putting in the work. At the start, he was 8th or 9th, made it all the way up. And Marius Aubert, it's good to see a fresh face. He's in 4th, and Tituan Poyu in 5th. Quietly doing his thing back there. Look for a surge from him sooner or later.
Lincoln Dews having a little look behind him, and now he looks like to be applying the pressure, doesn't he? Maybe just trying to open up a bit of a gap here. And he had a little look around and then just decided to hit the gas. So maybe he's got a marker in his mind, or he's just got an idea, a pre-race game plan of where he wants to turn it up. Let's see if he can break away from the pack. He's doing all the work in front there, taking on every bit of rough water, all on his own. Doesn't seem to be phasing him at the moment, but as you mentioned, that cadence, you can see visibly from the shot just how much harder he's working.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's an opportunity to ride some wash. So these racers are definitely have their wits about them. Any kind of bump, they're going to want to try to take advantage, and hopefully one of those bumps that you try to make a move on, your opponent behind you is maybe daydreaming or doesn't quite pick it up, and that's how you're able to make these breaks. You can see Lincoln and Boothie riding the same wake, able to break away from Itzel Delgado in third. So those guys opened up about a 2 board length lead just from that one boat wake.
Yeah, Lincoln got away a little bit, and Boothie's gone with him. He's picked up the pace, and those two open up. Bit of a gap here. As we will shortly be approaching, kind of like the home straight in this race. Oh, a little tight shot there, and with much better light, allowing us to see the paddle switch technique. No, this is the open race here, and it's a 7K race. We just had a winner. This is our number 2 from that race, bringing it home for a silver medal. So well done to everyone getting involved, whether you're doing it raising money for charity and fancy dress, or just doing it for yourself, setting personal goals, whatever it might be. Props to everyone out there in the water on a freezing cold morning and taking the sport to Paris.
Look at these guys. These guys are hammering. I believe we're approaching the finish line. Not too long now. And Boothie and Lincoln really starting to drop the hammer. You see Tituan, there he goes, like expected, making his surge. Just waiting that entire time. He was in 5th. He's made his way up to 3rd. Itzel Delgado still hanging on in 4th. Marius Aubert in 5th. So a little shuffle. Lincoln and Boothie, looks like a 2-man race at this point. And look, they're just both hammering.
Yeah, this is a real scintillating matchup to see these two going at it.
And if I'm Michael Booth, I'm pretty satisfied of what's gone down so far. You know, a lot of times he leads the race the majority of the time, but Lincoln Dews, for whatever reason, led the race the majority of the time. So Boothie, who's known, you know, really to get stronger as the races go on, he's really hard to beat the longer the race gets going. You got to imagine it's going to be a hard task for Lincoln to hang on to this lead. It definitely looks like Lincoln's working a little harder than Michael is at the moment. You know, contrast the styles. Lincoln has more of that wiry, high cadence style that he's known for. Boothie, real strong and compact, just really sits on that paddle. More of that rhythmic Danny Ching, Travis Grant style. And I'm curious to see, I want to say they're paddling into the current, Candace reported, so if that's the case, it's probably more current. Who knows what the difference is between Lincoln and Boothie. You know, they're pretty close together, but looks like Boothie's edging him out, at least for the moment. You can see Lincoln make a hard right. He's trying his hardest to get back on that tail. And it's hard to tell from here, but we're coming up to kind of like that dock looking, that almost looks like, I don't think it is, but the finish kind of looks like that setting right there. And just the way they're paddling, I gotta believe that it's getting close. And Lincoln did a great job to get on the inside of Michael Booth. So he actually changed lanes. Let's see if Michael tries to, you know, a lot of times you could squeeze your opponent closer and force him to get behind you, and it looks like he's absolutely doing that. Michael, you know, a veteran, squeezes Lincoln, forces him to get behind him. So that was a great tactical paddling right there. Lincoln making his move, but forced to get behind, otherwise he's going to hit the wall. You saw that, right?
So using all the angles. And Booth been in the lead for a couple of minutes now. Lincoln Dew's still with him. Possibly.
Look, here he goes. He's going to make his final ditch effort. This kind of looks, I want to say they're pretty close to the end right here, but Lincoln separates, gets on that inside again. Michael feels him breathing down his neck and puts it down, almost paddling away from Lincoln in a way. Lincoln having to get back and just to hang on to that wake.
It's really impressive. Just look how hard they're going at it here. For well over an hour of effort. Still looking so strong. A little breath there on the paddle switch. And the race, the finish line now will be within pretty close range. Let's see.
Look at Lincoln. He knows it. It must be getting close. Look at this move from Lincoln Dews. Michael's going to try to pinch him off again. Look at their cadence. They've basically been sprinting at 100% for the last 500-600 meters. Michael holding him off again, able to fend him off, and this is going to be the finish. So Michael Booth takes it. Lincoln Dews in second. Nice battle at the end right there. I'm curious to get who's got third, though. Is Itzel Delgado going to hang on?
Great sprint finish there. A great job from Boothie to hang on. He waited and bided his time. He was super patient. Around about a mile or so out, he made his move. Got in front of Lincoln Dews, and he held him off. There were a couple of little attacks from Lincoln. Boothie kept it up. Let's see if we can pick up the rest of our pack, but they open up a big, healthy lead there.
It looks like we jump. It looks like we jump back to the women's pack, so we will get those results. Boothie stoked, got the first. Looks like Tituan right there. Might have got third. I think I saw Itzel crossing the line or fourth, but did you see how fast those guys are paddling to able to break those guys on that big of a spread? Those guys are firing. There's Lincoln Dews, second place in the distance race. He's got to be stoked on that, and he is hurting. He gave it everything he got. I'm going to say Tituan Palu crawled up and got third, and Itzel Delgado with a strong fourth, unofficially.
Okay, let's see if we can pick out any signs of Arthur Arutkin or indeed Casper Steinfap. That's our world title race you see on the boat clock there. An hour and 12 gone now, so their finishing time will be 1:11 something for 1 and 2. Really impressive effort. Let's have a look at some standings. Michael Booth, Lincoln Dews, those your 1, 2, the Aussies, Tituan Puyo, New Caledonia. Itzel Delgado getting that fourth. Then the three Frenchmen, easy for me to say. Leonard Nica, the Italian, Danny Ching, the veteran, Christian Anderson, in 10th place, but where, oh where, are our world title contenders? They'll be coming in soon. Meanwhile, let's pick up the women.
Yep, so it's been a while since we've seen the women. So it looks like, that looks like Fiona in the lead. Or actually April Zilg. April Zilg is currently in the lead on that 404. Fiona in second with Lena Agaitis. Lena Agaitis had to put in a lot of work to get up there. And Seychelles, they're all pretty much tied at this point, but Lena pulling out and ahead. She was, if you remember, she was leading that second chase pack, so she broke that chase pack to get up with these three girls. That's pretty incredible in itself. So Lena Agaitis looking solid, as well as Fiona Wild, Seychelles, and April Zill. That's your top four.
So the women's race here, bringing it home. There's your leading pack right there. Your world champ, freshly crowned yesterday.
There's our men's champ, Michael Booth, with a time of 1:14.05. So no surprise there. Michael Booth, probably the favorite coming into this distance race, and gets the job done. Another day at the office for the Aussie.
What's in the bum bag?
Yeah, he's got a
Snacks?
camel bag. Yeah, he might have that. Maybe there's a, well, there's obviously water or, you know, hydration.
In Britain we call that a bum bag. In America you guys call that a fanny pack. In Britain a fanny means something else.
I hear ya, I hear ya.
But yeah, got some nutrition in there.
Absolutely, these distance races, you definitely got your electrolytes and your favorite kind of energy drink. And looks like we're going to throw back down to Candace and get an update on these women.
Now, Seychelles followed her, so Seychelles now in second, April in third, equal with Fiona Wild. The race a bit smarter than some of the last races. Earlier in the year, she was leading the pack most of the race, but then everyone else was able to conserve some energy at their end. So looks like Lena working on some strategy here. She was in the back of the main drop back for the first part of the race, and now she's just working her way up into that front position. She looks really strong and steady, and we're getting closer to the finish line. So I can see the finish line, and it's in sight. It's about 1 kilometer away. So it's going to be an exciting finish for these ladies. Back to you guys in the booth.
Cool, thanks Candice. All right. So let's check out the women's leading pack here. And it looks like they're feeling it a little bit right now.
Yeah, and you can see, just like the men's, whoa, Casper, he looks extra stoked.
Okay, so Casper, so that tells us, by the looks of things, we've got a brand new world champion. This is history being made here. He's been so close so many times, the Dane. He was close yesterday, needed to win the final in the pool. He couldn't do it in the sprints. He had to regather, regroup, and come back hard today. And it looks like he's done that, and it looks like we've got a brand new world champ for the men. Congratulations, Casper Steinfeld.
Wow, amazing. After you finish a race, you get the news right there. Hey, bud, you're the world champ.
Beautiful scenes.
But back to the women's. Check this out. So Lena putting in all the work to lead this race. She's known for someone that doesn't like to draft, and she likes to lead the races. So I'm curious to see if we see her hop in behind Seychelles, but Seychelles looking for the win right here. Fiona making a move as well. April just hanging on. She's still in the mix. Anything could happen at this point. But the top three side drafting virtually tied for first. Lena, what a win this would be for her, just based on her start alone. To come back and catch these women, what an incredible feat in itself. Seychelles in the middle, looking focused. Fiona quietly out on the outskirts, and April just not able to hang on at the moment. So it looks like a 3 paddler race. Their cadence is definitely picked up, so we know the starting line, or the finish line, is coming up quick. I love this from Lena. She's a gritty paddler from Canada. Still very much looking in control. Seychelles hopping on that side draft. And just a great shot right there. Really good paddling from all women. Basically, Lena's not getting any relief. Seychelles might be getting a little bit of side draft, and Fiona getting side draft off Seychelles. So Fiona making a little move right here. Check that out on the outside, going from fourth to first.
Hammering it. She's seen something here, and she's sniffed some blood, and she is making a definite move. See that board just emerging, and she's obviously got plenty left in the tank.
Yeah, she looks the freshest, and you know what? That was a nice move by her. She jumped out in front and made a little lane change to kind of veer off Seychelles, so Seychelles forced to get behind her, and she just got right behind that draft snake. You can see her nose pointing up. She's not in it. She's just outside of it, and that just hurts so bad. Now she's doing the same to Lena. Whether it's intentional or not, she's changing lanes and forcing these girls to get behind her. But Fiona striking at the perfect time. Lena's hanging in there. Seychelles still looking pretty fresh. April somewhere back there. There she is. She's going to take fourth place. So it's all right here. 1, 2, and 3. Fiona Wild, Lena Agaitis, Seychelles. Seychelles on the inside now, though. I believe Fiona will have to make her way to the inside a little bit more to get in between that buoy and the wall. That's the official finish line. But Fiona looking really strong, almost like she's getting stronger.
She's got some traffic to negotiate, though. She needs to get the blinkers on and change down lanes here.
Keep a close lookout, though. Seychelles went real far inside early. Lena still on the outside, so we got to see if the open racers will play a part in this result. Fiona's got to get over. Seychelles really getting on her own, getting out of that wake. A little bit cleaner water, so to speak, than directly behind Fiona, but Fiona choking down on that stroke. Really high cadence. And she's looking the freshest out of all the women. Lena just slow and steady, tied with Seychelles, but Seychelles on the inside.
Yeah, Fiona looks great, doesn't she? No sign of fatigue at all. And if there is any kind of challenge at the moment, she looks like she would be able to hold it off. Let's see if she can keep that up all the way home, but plenty left in the tank from her. We talked about just how many feathers she has in her cap, so to speak, in terms of these sports. Such a multidisciplinarian, and her endurance skills being shown here on the open water of the River Seine, and the athleticism as she leads this one from the front. Pretty close to the finish line now. We went past that barge where we saw Lincoln Dews get just kind of shut down a little bit by Michael Booth previously. So not far out from the finish line now. But Seychelles Webster still having a bit to say just across at the far side of your shot there.
Yeah, unfortunately for her, she is having to navigate through some open paddlers. If I'm her, I'm being very vocal. Coming through, spread out, all of that. But look, she's making a move, and she's on the inside, so she actually has a better line, although she's behind Fiona. Fiona seems to have an open straightaway now, though. So look at Seychelles having to bump around the open paddler. Finally gets clear. So this is where the final surge is going to come from. You see the buoys. Fiona hangs on, so Fiona Wild first place, second place Seychelles, third place Lena Agaitis. That's got to be one of the most impressive results today.
Great job, Fiona Wild. Absolutely exhausted. She put everything out there and finished so strong. Yeah, that'll feel great. Seychelles Webster behind her, all smiles. Your world champion for 2019 on the APP World Tour, crowned yesterday in the sprints in the pool and out there in the water with a very respectable silver.
Wow, so Fiona, that was impressive. I know she wanted to bounce back and get this win today, but for her to choke down on that paddle and basically sprint at 100% for that long, that was impressive. Holding off the world champion Seychelles. And Lena Agaitis man, coming from behind and almost got that win as well. So congrats to those ladies, your top three. April Zilg finishing out that first pack in fourth.
All right, well, that wraps things up for our women's race. We've got a brand new world champ in the men, Casper Steinfeld. There's our 1 and 2 for the men, Michael Booth and Lincoln Dews, 2 Aussies. Having a little debrief. They look like they got their breath back. Let's go and get a word from them with Candice.
Well, down here in the women's, we're going to have the distance race for the wild. Great job. How do you feel right now? 2 seconds ago, I was exhausted, and right now I'm so excited. So, oh my gosh, this whole year I haven't been able to get a win on the APP. And I'm just out to finish last. And it was the longest, hardest push, but it was so worth it. You did awesome. You can tell you really wanted it in that final stretch. Your cadence and your strength was amazing. We're so happy for you. Go get home and enjoy your victory. Oh, thank you so much. Back to you guys. Oh.
Thanks, Candice Appleby. Great job, Fiona Wild. And a very impressive morning's work for that woman. She is the winner out on the River Seine, the famous river through the heart of Paris. This is the Paris Sup Open 2019, second year back here in the French capital. The iconic Eiffel Tower in the background of your shot there as we see some of our amateurs just finish off the race, 1,000 of them. There's our last year's world champ, who was troubled a little bit with injury this season, so unable to defend it. Nevertheless, had some impressive performances in the pool yesterday, did Shay. And that's going to wrap things up for, wow, what a great couple of days of racing in Paris.
That was pretty insane. Way to cap it off for Fiona with a win. As you said, it's been a little up and down year on the APP World Tour. I know she'd had a bunch of nice results of the Euro Tour, and finally finishes off with that win today in Paris. And congratulations, Fiona Wild, and congratulations, Michael Booth, and congratulations, our newly minted 2019 World Champion, Casper Steinfeld and Seychelles.
All right, so that's the way it's gone down in the French capital of Paris, France. It has been our final event for 2019 for racing on the APP World Tour. It's been awesome. A couple of world champs, great crowd support as well. It's not the end of APP World Tour. We're going to actually pack our bags and head south, I'm pleased to say, to the Canary Islands of Gran Canaria for
the final surf event.
Final surf event, which starts on Tuesday. That's going to be awesome. So make sure you join us, APP World Tour. Join us live for that event. I'm Paul Evans, signing off from Paris. Dave Bain, it's been a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, man, good to see you. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see you down in Gran Canaria, so I'll see you guys all next year on the APP World Tour.
Au revoir for now.